Alright, this is my how-to video on installing eBay projectors in a F250, 350, probably the same for an Excursion as well. Mine's a 2002. I would imagine this probably could be applied to 99 through 2007, I think is when they made the big change for the headlights. So here's a list of tools that made the job a lot easier. Various size Phillips, a small Dremel tool. Mine's a piece of crap Harbor Freight one, but it works. A screwdriver to use these utility bits with, or you can have just various size Phillips and flatheads. A Sharpie to mark when you need to cut or file anything down. Definitely get some shrink or heat shrink to waterproof your connectors. I have a box, a bunch of various ones. The ones that come with the kit are junk. I get rid of them. Don't use them. Go and buy some decent ones at Walmart or Fred Meyer or the auto parts store. Don't buy the Harbor Freight ones. Then I have a file. You can use some whiteout or some touch-up paint. A wire cutters, obviously. Then various, got some dikes and a couple pairs of needle nose pliers. Utility knife. You will need the silicone unless you want your headlights to leak. You'll need a heat gun, or you could use a lighter or something for the heat wrap. And then of course the xenon kit, mine are H1 bulbs. That's what the headlight takes, and that one's completed already, so I ran through this once before I started doing the video. It'll take you about a half an hour per light to do this the right way. I just want mine to work as well as I can and to be sealed properly, so we'll go from there. Okay, so one thing I wanted to get into before I start the installation and setup is a lot of the guys on the forums say that you can't use these eBay halogen projectors with HIDs because the bulb is not the right length and it'll melt the housing and it'll scatter light and blah 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 blah. So this is a 55 watt bulb that comes with it. It's halogen. This is a 35 watt HID at 6000K. It's a little bluer than I wanted. From the picture on the website, it looked like it was going to be more whitish blue. So I'm probably going to change them out just because I don't want to get hassled by the cops. It looks good, but I just don't want to take a chance. So I'll probably buy some bulbs. They're like 11 bucks. I'm not going to deal with returning this to the seller. I'll just keep them for spares. So what I want to point out here is, I hope this focuses properly, the element in the HID bulb is almost in the exact same position as the element in the halogen bulb. Now I already took the one that I put together and went outside and hooked it up to my battery in my truck, and it looks great. There's no scattered light. It's probably not focused as perfectly as if it was put in a projector housing, but it does look good, and it doesn't have beams of light shooting off the sides or real hard cuts in the light. I'm pretty pleased with it. So I just kind of wanted to point that out before moving forward. Alright, so the unboxing here. So it comes in this huge box. These headlights are a lot bigger than they obviously look online. I cracked this open just so that I didn't have to screw with it while I'm holding the camera. But this one has not been removed from the box yet. So this is the style that I bought. It's pretty common on eBay. It looks great. The halo, I already tested the halos on the other set. Before I go into installing everything in this, I will test it first to make sure that it lights up properly, because I don't want to hassle with retroing this and then having it not function and have to send it back to the seller. Alright, so now I'm going to test the LEDs. I have a 1275 amp charger here. Some of these chargers won't let you do this, some will. It just depends on how new or old they are. This one's old, so it doesn't have safety features. So it won't stop you from electrocuting yourself, so just keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do first is untangle these. Alright, so I used the dikes here and I snipped the little cable tie that was holding all the wires bundled together. And now I'm going to hook up the positive here, and the negative. And I can see it lighten up. Keep these away from each other. It's going to be a little tricky when I have to hold the camera. And I just want to make sure that all of this is working. So you can see the halos and the LEDs are all lit up. It's safe to proceed to the next step. Now I did test my HID kit when I first got it. The day I got it, I tested it. I just hooked it up. It's super straightforward. This is your power. This plugs in here. This goes to your bulb. All you have to do is just touch positive and negative on the battery terminals on your car. I tried using the battery charger over here and it does not have enough amps to fire the ballast. It'll come on, but it's not bright, and I wanted to test it correctly, so you can just hook them right up to your car battery, and just be careful not to shock yourself, but pretty straightforward. Okay, so the box makes an excellent work table because it's cardboard. It won't scratch like maybe on your wood table in your kitchen or countertop. Also, I do not take the plastic cover off the bulbs probably until they're almost installed in the truck, like as I'm tightening the screws down or right before. Just keep the lens protected and keep it looking as nice as possible. So one thing I do want to note is that these LED voltage regulator deals here, they just stuck them on to the plastic with double-sided sticky tape, and on that, the headlights over there, this bottom one was already off. It was still tacky, but I would recommend pulling these off and gluing them down, because with the vibration of the road in your truck and everything, they're gonna fall off. You know, you just kind of, what we're doing here is preventative stuff to make these headlights look good and last as long as they can. So with that said, remove the boot to the main projector light. And I apologize, I'm doing this with a digital camera. I don't have a nice fancy like flip camera or whatever, so if this is a poor focus, I apologize. So remove these connectors here. Alright, so got those connectors off, and now you want to release the clip that holds the stock H1 bulb in. Now if you look at this, you can see that this thing is slotted for the halogen bulb, but it also has the notch to perfectly fit the HID bulb. It goes right in there. Now, there is one small problem, and that's where the file and the marking paint and everything comes in, is that when this goes in, these little tabs right here on both sides don't quite align with these holes here. And so what you have to do is you have to file these little tabs off right here, these holes. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright. So now, first thing is take your dikes. Be very careful. Seat them flush. And just take as much as you can off of there. Like so. Then next, you'll take your file and being extremely careful not to touch the glass. Just slowly file these down. And they go pretty quickly. So just file those until they're level. Alright, so as you can see now, those are filed down. It only took about maybe 2 minutes on each little nub to get those flush with the side. Now the reason we take those off is so that they don't rock inside this. When this goes down in here, it doesn't rock around. It does right now because we have to do the next step. Alright, so the next step here is, if you look down in here, you can see that there's these little metal notches, like not tabs, but just sticking up. What we have to do is we have to drill holes in the base of our HID bulb for those to sit into. That way the bulb will sit flush in the base and it won't rock around like it does right now. So the easiest way to mark this is to get some white out, or I have some white truck paint, Ford truck paint, because my F350 is obviously white. I gotta set this down. Okay, so now just a dab will do. Take and put a little dab on each one. And then, before it gets a chance to set up, take your bulb and slide it down in there and just kind of press it down and then take it straight out. And voila, you'll have two little white dots where you need to drill your holes. Now you don't have to drill them all the way through, you just need to drill an indentation that's just slightly deeper than what those are. Alright, so now we're going to drill our indentations. Kind of keep the headlight away while you do this, or go to a workbench so that you don't get shavings all over. And make sure that you're real careful and observant about where the tool is in relationship to your bulb, so you don't actually accidentally mar the bulb. This is about the worst tool Harbor Freight sells. This thing is just absolutely gutless. Alright, so now we've got our holes drilled, and you probably can't see because I switched back to the camera, but I didn't punch it all the way through. I don't want to take a chance and make a spot where there could be leakage like water or whatever, but it's enough. So now, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you should have some alcohol swabs on hand, or some rubbing alcohol and a clean towel. Use these to clean up the bulb. You don't want to touch it with your fingers. So clean up the base, get everything all cleaned up, and get all the black crap off that was on there from your drilling. and then let that set up, and then test fit it into your lens. Alright, so here's a close-up of the new holes drilled in. And as you can see, when you slide this in there, now it sits nice and flush. There's no movement at all. At this point, go ahead and try to bring the retaining clip down, which is nearly impossible to do with one hand while holding the camera, and try to snap this. So as you can see, maybe hopefully here, the ring, the snap spring is hitting the side of the bulb. So this is where the needle nose pliers come in handy. Basically what you need to do is, if you look at this, you can see there's a bend, a couple of bends in it. You need to straighten this out, and what that will do is that you take this bend out right here and make this straight. It will give you a little bit more clearance on this side, and it won't push the bulb over to the one side. So that's what we'll do next. So now, unfortunately I couldn't do that while holding the camera because it took two hands, but now this used to have a bend that came off this way. Now it goes straight. So when I put the bulb back in, alright, so it took a little work to get this one in. Basically what I had to do was I had to remove this screw, and this ring is goes all the way around from one side to the other, and I spun it around 180 degrees because, as you can see on this side, this was blocking me from being able to clip it in right here. And since you can't turn the bulb around, spinning this around fixed it. And then I had to bend this a little bit more than I did on the other one, but now it's in there nice and tight. It's not going anywhere, it's not going to shake or vibrate, and all is happy. Okay, so now we're going to remove the rubber cap. We're going to cut these connectors because these are junk. So use your dikes or your pull off these rubber worthless things that would dry rot in like 2 days. And now we have our rubber cover. Now go ahead get these out of the way. Grab your shrink wrap, heat shrink, wire cutters, using blue terminal connectors, and your wire loom that goes to your HIDs, to your ballast. So first things first, these are right about a 16 gauge, which is a little right on the edge for HIDs. I'd prefer to be in like a 14, but these are 35 watters, so if they were 55 watts, we would be probably upgrading this wiring. Okay, This makes it easier if you slide on your heat shrink first, so you don't snag it when you're trying to put it on over these connectors. Make sure you get them in there nice and seated. Make sure that's not going to go anywhere. Same thing here. I don't like that one. Looks like I got a mix in here, good ones and not so great ones. Here we go. Sure it's not going to move around. That one wiggles a little. There we go. Okay. So now, blue. So I already know that black is the ground and black is the middle wire on these. Just from my experience with this truck, the middle wire is black. So with that said, I know that black is my ground. So, black to black, red to the blue. I'm going to do just a really super light crimp on each one of these. Not mashing it together, just enough that it's not going to come apart from vibration or anything. And cover these up with the heat shrink. Get them centered as best as you can. This will do two things. One, it'll help keep moisture out, and two, it will keep these connectors from touching. If they touch, you're going to get a short. And three, it looks professional. Alright, so I'm using low heat and I just get kind of close. High heat can melt this or melt the wiring, so you really just want to take your time, get everything nice and sealed up. Now, this stuff is relatively inexpensive. It is more expensive than you would think, but it's worth the money. Okay. Watch the tip of that, especially if you're working in the house. You don't want to start a fire. Alright, so this is all done. This is wired in. This is your power, so your headlight power will come in here and it will hook into your ballast here. Then this runs to your bulbs. So there's a lot of wires going on here. So when we get to the point where we stick this thing on the truck, we're going to use zip ties and get everything looking nice and neat, so there's no chance of any of these rubbers or wires rubbing rubbing on the chassis and causing a short and your headlights going out down the road to 60 miles an hour at 11 o'clock at night. So next we want to seal this up. Obviously you can't fit these connectors through here. We don't want to cut and splice and make this all look ugly. So this is where our RTV comes in handy. So figure out how you want this cap to sit on. I'm going to have the tab going in with the holes like in the middle. And then just do it like a test alignment. And see how this will align. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut a hole right in the best spot to do this. Hopefully my head's not in the way. So I'm going to shoot for right there. Check that one more time. It's almost right where I can't get it clear. Probably right there. I just don't want to overlap anywhere any of those holes are. Okay. Push our connectors through. And go ahead and seal this down on here. If you want to hit this with a little bit of RTV, you can. The only reason that I'm not doing it right now is because I'm gonna run these 6000K bulbs until I get the new ones in. So once I get the 5000s or 4300s, I will switch these out, and then I'll seal everything up permanently. So now we're going to take our black or blue, doesn't matter, they're both the same, it's just color. Red is the high temp. Just kind of glob her on there. This is not going to come off as easy when I go to switch these out, but I want it to be sealed up. So, doesn't have to be pretty, nobody's going to see this. It's behind your headlight, it just needs to be functional. And then I'm going to put a little dab over each one of these little holes where wires used to come out of. Just like that. Alright, so at this point you can just go ahead and just set everything aside and let this dry. Let that silicone sit up overnight. You waited a week or however long for your headlights and your bulbs to get here. You can wait one more day to make sure this is all done right. So let that all cure up. And then what we'll do next is we'll inspect the fittings over here underneath the high beam cap, which is just a standard H1 bulb. I ordered a an ultra white bluish bulb for my high beam, but honestly I don't think I'll ever use it. I think with the HIDs in there for low beams, I'll never need to touch the high beams. Might do it habitually for a while until I get used to just running the lows, but there's really no need to use it. It's not going to be nearly as bright as the HIDs will. So let that set up, and we'll come back to it tomorrow.